You're live. Here we
Great.
are. Yay, welcome to Dulcimoon Talk number 40. And I'm Erin Mae. I'm in Kansas here. And today I am joined by Mandy Tyner from Georgia. And she is most known for many of us as Banjo Lemonade from her YouTube channel. And so we're really excited to hear her story about her musical journey and dulcimer playing and contributions to our wonderful community. So, hi, Mandy. Thanks for joining
Hello.
us. So, we kind of start at the place of how did you find the dulcimer, which in your story I think may involve going back a little bit before you found the dulcimer, because you found other instruments first. Is that right?
That is. Yeah, okay. So it's
So,
it's crazy. Really. Um the mountain dulcimer. Okay, so it involves banjo to begin with. So I actually took a banjo class. It was a week-long class here at the John Campbell Folk School, which is just a little piece down the road here from where I live. And I was
nice
actually
and
working
lucky.
there, right? And I got into banjo and I started learning to play it on my own.
Hmm.
And they said, "Oh, you can take a class." So I was like, "Okay, let me look at these classes." And I see there was a banjo class, and it was Introduction to Claw Hammer Banjo. Okay. And so I was like, "Okay, I don't know what that is, but I'm going to take it." Right. So I show up day one and I see Miss Aubrey Atwater and her
Oh,
her husband Elwood Donnelly there, and I have a wonderful week of learning about clawhammer banjo and the history of it and all that. It was amazing, just a super fun class. But so right there on the table in the classroom, she had all of her stuff you could buy, and of course I bought the book, I bought the CDs, started listening to them, and then at the end of the week they had a concert, like we do now. And they had an hour long concert, so I got to see them perform. And I saw a mountain dulcimer. First time I'd ever laid eyes on one,
wow.
and saw her play that. And then her album was called The Blackest Crow.
I
And
love that
on that,
album.
the title track, The Blackest Crow, she is playing the mountain dulcimer on that.
Hmm.
And that stuck with me. At that concert, I'm sitting there and I talk to John. He's right next to me, and I say, "I'm gonna have one of those someday," because it was just amazing, right? And even though I was taking a banjo class, it's kind of funny, So then our daughter came along. Life got busy. I
Yeah.
picked up clawhammer banjo and kept with it. And then several years later, I was 32 years old and was like, "It's time for me to get a dulcimer." So John got me one for Christmas, and the rest is history, as we say. But
Hmm.
Aubrey was such a huge influence there because I literally wore that CD out, if that's something you can actually do. And The Blackest Crow just, I was so in love with that. And I think Aubrey was number 28 on your Dulcimoon Talks. So I do want people to check her out if they don't know
Yeah,
anything about Aubrey. But
definitely.
amazing entertainer, teacher, all that. Banjo, dulcimer. So yeah, that was
Yeah.
my introduction, and she is the reason I picked up a mountain dulcimer. So
I love that.
yeah,
So,
really
did you
cool.
have music in your life as a kid? Was your childhood musical in any way?
Not at all. Not at all. But when I was 16, I had a job, and before I even bought a car, I was walking to work. Worked at the movie theater, making $3.25 an hour. I saved up like two or three paychecks and walked to the music store and bought an electric guitar, um, thinking I was going to learn how to play it because I,
Yeah.
I had that draw to music, but I didn't know about any instruments or anything.
Mhm.
So saved up another paycheck or three or four and got the cord and the amp, couldn't afford lessons, and just made a mess for a little while, really, with that. Uh, it wasn't until, my early 30s that I found the banjo even, and then the mountain
Hmm.
dulcimer a little
Hmm.
later. But
Hmm.
yeah, no real music. John liked to strum guitar, so when we were real young, you know, um, we would strum and sing a little bit, but
Hmm.
nothing of any regularity or anything like that. We didn't do it very much, so
Hmm.
yeah.
I know that church music, playing in church, that's one of your current things that's a focus for you. Was that something that you had, like music in a church context growing up?
No, not at all.
I was
Not at
later
all.
too. Wow.
Yeah, that was all later. Every bit of the musical journey didn't really start until my 30s. Um, and I didn't have church growing up. My parents were not really regular church attendees or anything like that.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yes, I'm very passionate about that. We perform every Sunday. It's ironic, but our church, it's a little country church, and we don't have a piano player right now. So
Hmm.
for the last couple years, John and I and another fellow have been playing, the music. So we play 4 songs every Sunday between morning and night, and then I'll play the offering song at night, a solo piece,
Hmm.
on something. But I love that more than anything. That's the best. I mean, I just adore it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So what kind of music would you have been exposed to kind of
Growing
early
up,
on, and how did that eventually weave to old time and traditional music?
it's crazy because just grew up listening to basically country,
Yeah.
um, 70s, 80s country. And then
Hmm.
I have 2 older brothers. So my oldest brother would be listening to all the rock and all that kind of stuff. So I listened to all that.
Yeah.
And really, really enjoyed country music a lot, especially in the late 80s. And then I would listen to some pop, what everybody was listening to at school,
Hmm.
that sort
Hmm.
of thing. I did not find old time music at all until I found the banjo, really.
Yeah.
Didn't know any of that stuff. I had seen Hee Haw growing up, loved that. Um,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Loved that. But the funny thing is, what brought me to banjo really is Dolly Parton, if you can believe it.
Tell me more.
She's got a song. I always loved I always loved Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
Growing up, and really,
Who
my
doesn't love
parents.
Dolly
I
Parton?
know she is just amazing, but so I really enjoyed her growing up and had her a bunch of her cassette tapes, vinyl, CDs, all of it. And she had a song called Applejack. And that song
Yeah.
she's playing the banjo. And I would,
Uh-huh.
oh man, I love to hear that song. And that's really that, and kind of seeing it on Hee Haw and that sort of a thing gave me kind of in the back of my mind an interest in banjo. So that's, one year I'm like, John, it's time. We're living up here in the mountains. I want a banjo.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
geography played a role for you in getting to that.
Really, it's not necessarily, I mean, I'm sure it's partly geography, but
Yeah.
it's kind of at a time in my life where things were calming down, I guess, right before
Hmm.
we had our daughter. So, yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm like, I'm not doing enough in my life. I kind of want to explore music some more, So
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
got me a banjo and I got started doing rolls, bluegrass style
Yeah.
rolls, and
Yeah.
it didn't take too long for me to realize that clawhammer was more my style. So the old
Hmm.
time style. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. So
So it's really fun for me because there are things about your musical story that really parallel my dad's musical story,
yeah.
which then is like how I got to be musical because he was in his 30s and it was right around the time that they had me and my sister, and
Yep.
my dad was the stay-at-home parent, and he was like, I need something besides babies in my life, and he got himself a mandolin, and that was
Yeah.
how our family's musical journey started. So
Oh, Oh,
that's
that's
really fun
awesome.
to hear that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
really
he had
good.
the same, like, I kind of saw it on TV, but I didn't really know what old time music was, but then
Oh, yeah, that's amazing. I love
stumbling
it.
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really cool. Um, so who were some of your, I mean, Aubrey, of course, was one of your musical influences, but who are like your musical influences that sort of helped you get to the kind of old time traditional music? Who are you listening to? Who are you learning from in that phase?
Really, it's just Aubrey is what started it. Okay, so
Yeah.
where we were living at the time was not here, sadly, but it was a couple hours away. For work, you got to move. I mean, you just have to go where the work is. But really, I just found the internet. Like it was. I wasn't even on Facebook yet, but we're talking like when was that? 2009 or 10, something like that.
Uh-huh.
Is when I was really starting to get into it really heavily. And I just found we lived near the University of Georgia in Athens, that area
Hmm.
of Georgia. And I just found some people that I could play with. So,
Yep.
what they were playing influenced me. And then, of course,
Yep.
everything Aubrey played, I was listening to, so
Yes.
that really influenced me. And then I would play some different, country songs kind of that I had grown up with and things like
Yeah.
that. Um, and concerts we would attend. Athens area is a really big, they've got a lot of venues and a lot of really famous people have went through there, like REM and stuff like that. Um, the Carolina Chocolate Drops, I don't know if you know who that is,
I sure
but
do.
I was in love with Rhiannon and her playing on banjo. So
Yeah.
they came there to Athens, and I got to see them and had them sign my banjo head and all that kind of stuff. That was really cool.
Oh,
So they
yeah.
really influenced me, their
Yeah.
music and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Um, but it really wasn't until a little bit later that I started playing the dulcimer. I didn't have any lessons, didn't have anybody that I knew around me that played or anything like that,
Hmm.
sadly. So I just played. I played what I felt was right, and
Hmm.
it's kind of different than what a lot of people do maybe. I don't, but I play by ear, don't read music.
Uh-huh.
Um and so,
Which is the
so
the old way of learning, right? Is to
yeah.
just follow your ear.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
then we ended up in Orlando for my husband's work again, which is
Hmm.
way far away from here again, sadly. But we ended up in Orlando for a while, and I started a jam session through Craigslist. I got on there,
Well
and
done.
this is kind of old tech type of stuff, but I got on there and I was like, I want a jam session, old time folk, all that kind of stuff. So we had a group of people coming to our house once a week, and we had all sorts of different instruments coming in and out of there. It was really cool. And out of that, we developed a little band. So yeah, we had a band there for a minute and played some gigs down in Orlando, and that was pretty
Nice.
cool.
No,
And then
there's such a lesson in that I want to like draw out a little bit for people, which is that thing that we have often of like, I don't have anyone to play with. I'm stuck. I'm by myself. I'm alone.
yep,
And sometimes the answer to overcoming that is to reach out because there are definitely other people who are feeling equally alone and wishing for something, and it takes the initiative. And so I just want to say, like, well done for being the one who went, this is a thing I want and I don't see it already existing, so I'm gonna create it and use whatever tools were available to you, like Craigslist, which is amazing.
yeah, and like I even have a bunch of videos on my channel talking about this, telling people, look, if you play something, you need to put yourself out there. Go to a park and just sit somewhere and play. You will
Yeah.
attract people, okay? You will attract people. Anywhere you go, if you're in a truck, put your tailgate down, sit on the tailgate, play in the parking lot of anything, and people will come. And they'll go, hey, I got a guitar, and can I play with you? And I mean, so much, it's so fun too, the community of musicians that kind of come together when you put yourself out there like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun.
Okay, so I didn't mean to interrupt your storytelling, but I did want to
No.
highlight that because
Yeah, that's
it felt
awesome.
important.
Oh, yeah, it
So,
is.
yeah, so you had your band forming in Orlando and
Yep. And we played at a couple events. One of
what
them
was the
was
name of the band?
Blackbird Courting.
Oh, I like
Yeah.
it.
We had, yeah, we had some guitars, a fiddle, banjo, mandolin. It was a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, we did a couple of gigs and, between everybody's work schedules and things, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And in Orlando, that's where I actually started teaching. I started teaching the banjo in 2012. So I'd have people come into the house to learn
Hmm.
clawhammer.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so that's really where Banjo Lemonade started, anyway.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
you were just teaching in person at that point?
Actually, it was online and in person, which is
Tell
amazing.
Yeah,
Okay.
tell me more about
So
that.
we had really good internet there, which we didn't have here until this year, but yeah, we had really good internet there. And so I was teaching students over Skype
Yep.
in 2012, and I
Yep.
had a guy in Brazil that I was teaching, and he could barely speak English.
Yep.
But we had a lot of fun with banjo there. And then I had students come into my class, like at my house,
Yeah.
coming directly to my house. And yeah, I just taught them the old time way, not really. If there was any tab, it was me literally writing it out because
Uh-huh.
I didn't know how to make any of that happen on a computer at that time.
Right.
So,
Right.
and even then, it was very rudimentary tab. I didn't understand much about tab at all. I really do now, but yeah, back then it was very rudimentary, but it was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I taught lessons on Skype too. That was the first place that was like, we can do a thing.
Yeah, yeah, it was neat.
Yeah.
And I still
Yeah.
teach on Skype. Yeah,
Nice. Nice.
yeah,
Yeah. It's amazing now to think about, so many of us are using Zoom regularly or FaceTime or whatever, like the video platforms are so prevalent. Google Teams and Meets and all the things exist. And so we almost don't think about how amazing it is that the technology allows us to do that. But man,
Well,
it's amazing.
it's kind of interesting because here in the mountains, we did not have internet. Okay, we have not gotten high-speed internet until January of 2024. Okay,
Wow. Yeah.
I, for my YouTube channel, I would film all the videos and drive once a week to my library to upload
Uh-huh.
because there was so I'm just now able to start teaching again online like that, where
Yeah.
it's face to face online, kind of live.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I
So
had to kind of,
what did the YouTube was the YouTube channel sort of born out of that not having good internet and that being a way, or was that how did that get started for you?
well, again, when I first started playing, uh, I realized that I needed to watch myself and listen to myself play.
Uh-huh.
So I started recording myself. Early on in my banjo playing, I really started recording myself on a digital camera, and had my husband help me figure out how to upload it to YouTube, and started the channel and started, really. I actually, no, I didn't start Banjo Lemonade until a little later. I was using his YouTube channel to watch myself play, and
Okay.
people started watching it. And not a ton of people, but I would get, hey, how did you do this? Or how did you do that? So I
Hmm.
would tell them, And then I would do, hey, I learned this song, and I would play it. And then I would get, hey, can you show me this? And then I'd do a video of showing whatever they had, asked. And I
Yeah.
thought, this is
Yeah.
kind of cool. And with the mountain dulcimer, at that time, once I started picking that up, I found a forum where they had a lot of
Yes.
videos. And so I
Was
was
that
on
the
that
early
forum.
Everything Dulcimer forum?
No, this is actually Friends of the Mountain Dulcimer.
Friends of the Mountain Dulcimer is still going.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
found that, and I started watching some videos of dulcimer players, and then I started uploading them, you know,
yeah.
and then I started Banjo Lemonade in 2012, and it was basically, I think I can teach people online. And that was the whole idea. I'm going to do a lessons. I'm going to do something that I wish I could have found for myself.
Mhm.
Somebody really breaking it down into the most simple form of claw hammer. And the dulcimer stuff didn't come till much later on the channel, but that was the whole goal of it. And yeah,
Does the name have a story?
a little bit, yeah. Well, I really love lemon stuff. I love lemonade. I love lemon flavored candies, all kinds of stuff. Lemon meringue pie. So the lemonade, I kept thinking, okay, what am I going to name a channel? It needs to be something that people will know. So I was like, okay, banjo. That's what I play. That's what I want to teach. And, I thought lemonade. Lemonade is a mixture. So I thought, you've got pink lemonade, you've got all kinds of mixtures. So I
Yeah.
said, it won't hurt for me to have other instruments on there because it's the lemonade part of it. So that's where it came from.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, even though I'm really primarily dulcimer now, it's still, I can't really change it.
It's
People
well
will recognize
established.
that.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah.
When did the flip from mostly banjo to mostly dulcimer happen?
Well, I was playing immediately when I found the dulcimer, I was playing it, and John actually, my husband, said, You know, you're really good at that. He said, maybe you should do more of that. And I didn't listen. I didn't listen.
The
We
underhanded
kept
compliment of that.
I kept doing my I kept doing my, mainly banjo, but I really enjoyed the dulcimer, and the saying, oh, the dulcimer is so easy and all this and that, which, in the most basic aspect of it is true, but there's so much more that you can
Yeah.
find with the mountain dulcimer.
I always like to
And
I always like to clarify that and say the first song is really easy on the dulcimer.
yeah,
The
you know,
first music making is really easy on the dulcimer. But the 50th song gets really hard.
exactly. And I don't know. I just, in the back of my head, it was there. Okay. But then, the banjo stuff was taking off a little bit. And,
Uh-huh.
I had a Patreon, and it was starting to go. And then, I didn't start teaching dulcimer on Banjo Lemonade at that time yet, though I was playing it some in the background. But,
Hmm.
I I started a website, you know, and in 2020 I realized, hey, I need to get off Patreon. Like, I don't really like Patreon. They take way too much of the share of,
Hmm.
right? And I'm like, I need a membership website, and
Okay.
I reached out
Okay.
to a few people that I knew because I don't know anything about all this technology. And it just so happened a friend who I was also teaching how to play the banjo is a computer guru. So I
Uh-huh.
started talking to him, and he's probably on here, but I started talking to him, and he really helped me develop this website and get it going. So in 2020, I launched that, and I do, all sorts of lessons and stuff on there with that, and
Hmm.
that worked out good. And then, but it was 2018 when I really started with the dulcimer lessons.
Hmm.
And that's really where I was like, okay, I really love this. But even at that time, I didn't even know about VSL at that time. I didn't even know you could get a shorter one than this gigantic 29-inch VSL, like 28 and a
Yeah.
half. And so I started looking at stuff, and came across Folkcraft again, which is another funny thing because the first real dulcimer I had a junky one at first, and then I'm like, I need a better one. This one's not good. And the first real one I had was a Folkcraft, and I found that used and found Folkcraft again and realized, hey, they make these things in different lengths. I want to get a short one. And,
Uh-huh.
that really opened up a whole new world to me, having a 25-inch VSL.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you can just reach those notes and chords so much nicer, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
So
It seems like the trend is definitely for like what was standard at 28 to 29 inch is like now standard at like 24 to 26 inch because
yeah,
I think part of it is that more people are just wanting to do more intricate embellishments and chords and things than once were common and popular, but also just like the development of the instruments allows for still like a lot of volume and projection without it having to be this huge box. And I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah, it's fun to see that kind of
It is. It really is.
change happening.
I didn't even play a 1.5 fret until 2020. I never even had experienced that, let alone a chromatic. Um, yeah, so I love all the differences. Embrace it all.
Yeah. So tell us about your herd of instruments. Do you?
Oh, okay. Well, a couple of these are John, but but yeah, this is the newest acquisition here, a resonator dulcimer. That just came in yesterday, or no, day before yesterday, as a matter of fact, and I already
Oh,
love it.
new baby.
Yeah, I already love it because it's got this high-low feature where you can lift the strings up and play it like a dobro, which I've never played before. But yeah, it's really cool. The sound of it is something totally different.
Right.
Um, so that's a lot of fun, and it's chromatic, which I love chromatic as well as everything else. And on the other end of the spectrum, right here, I don't know if you can see that one, but this
Yeah.
is my what I call the greatest of all
Yes.
time. This is the diatonic. This is a longer scale, and I play lots and lots of hymns on that. So
Hmm.
that's my baby too. And this is my first 1.5 fret dulcimer that I got back in
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then over here, let's see what you can see. I think you can see a mandolin over here. Play
Yep.
some
We can see the
mandolin.
mandolin and the body of the banjo in the
Yeah,
shot.
some banjo. Yep, yep. So, and then you can't see this little Merlin dulcimer stick thing that I play.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know if you've seen this or not. But it's just a tiny little thing. But it's really fun for people to get started on. So,
Hmm.
um, I teach that too, and surprisingly, that does very, very well. Lots of people really want to get into something like that. And it's
Fun.
with its shorter scale, it might be good for
Yeah.
kids too.
It's a
You
real,
know?
it's more like the size of a ukulele when you hold it in
Yeah.
your hand than like yeah. So many of the kids that I teach, we start trying to put it in their lap and then almost instantly we just put it on the floor in front of them because it's teeter-tottery in their lap and they can't figure out how to get it to stay stable. And so we just switch to putting it on the floor for a
Well,
while.
that makes sense. I teach a homeschool class on
Yeah, tell
cardboard
us about that.
dulcimers. Yeah. And so I started that program 2 years ago in our local homeschool group. And I what I do is I go ahead and put the little hooks in the back of it so that we can get straps right away.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Because I don't really teach really young. I start at 10 and up, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I've really enjoyed doing that. I love it. And so twice a month I teach them. And we just had our talent show, our end of year talent show, and they did great. We played 4 songs, and that was a blast.
What's the current favorite song of the kids you teach?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, one thing they love to do is I call it a burnout. So what
I
we
call
do
it
is
the big finish.
we play boil them cabbage down, and you're going
Yeah.
boil them cabbage down. But I have this Bluetooth speaker, okay, and it's got Strum Machine, which I love,
Yep.
and I really tell everybody to get. So it's got Strum Machine going, and that plays the chords. If you don't know what that
Yes.
is, but it's a great backing track kind of a thing that it'll play a bass, a guitar, and a little mandolin chop of the chords while you can play over it. So I have that running, and we'll be playing Boil Them Cabbage Down, and I have it set to automatically speed up every time you play through it. So
Yes.
we will get to like about 150, and nobody can keep up, and they just scream with laughter. It's so fun. They
That
love
is
doing
so
burnouts.
fun.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's a blast.
I love that.
But for our my second year students, we just played a really nice version of Spotted Pony with all the notes, right? And then we
Yeah.
played Ruben's Train. So that was really fun.
Oh,
But yeah,
those are such good ones. Oh,
yeah.
I love all the tunes. And every tune, I have the memory of like where I learned it or a story about it or
Oh
it's
yeah.
like your whole playing history through the collection of tunes. I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
So you were
Fun.
telling me you also have a shape note singing project?
Oh yes, yes. So, okay, if people don't know, if they're not familiar with shape notes, that was really created for singing and for
Yeah.
people that don't know how to read music. And
I,
so they
I
have
have
two
my
different,
sacred harp hymnal sitting right by my desk.
yeah. So otherwise known as sacred harp or solfege.
Hmm.
They have two different system of notes. And I believe the other one is a 4 note system, but the one I use is 7 notes,
That's the one
which
I'm
just
most
so
familiar with.
happens, yeah, that just so happens to be what we have on our mountain dulcimer, right? We have
Yep.
our 7 note scale perfectly laid out there for us. So what I do is I have this giant spiral bound
Yeah.
church hymnal, and this so happens to be my church hymnal in my church, that I'm going through and I'm playing and tabbing out every single song in it.
Wow.
So every Tuesday, I put that on my channel, a new one.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I've got to where now I can read it like it's music notes. I don't need to write anything down. I can just look at it and do it now.
Yeah.
Um, but
I'm noticing you have your shapes on the wall behind you. Is it on a
oh
dulcimer
yeah, I
board that the
actually
shapes
I
are?
did a little class on that.
Yeah.
That would be for DAD. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was for the class that I did on that. But yeah, this is really kind of a heartfelt project for me because not only is it going to teach me all the hymns in this book, but I can also, get people, hopefully get people interested in learning shape notes
Hmm.
because you can find lots of shape note hymnals out there. Um, there's
It was
tons of them.
really learning shape note was really transformative for me in learning about singing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I am not dominantly an ear learner. I'm a note learner, but
Okay.
I couldn't figure out how the notes connected to my voice until I understood the intervals better.
Yeah.
And shape note was how I started to understand the intervals. Because on the like piano sheet music or on the
Yeah.
piano keyboard, I could
Yeah.
tell you that's a major third because I knew how many keys I had moved on the piano, but I didn't understand like what does major third mean until I sang do
Oh,
mi
right.
do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so and then, the idea of being able to like transpose quickly and things like that, the shape note system really helped me understand a lot of that. So I still incorporate shape note stuff sometimes into some of my teaching materials and a lot of the way I think about music.
Well, what's funny is I don't really, I'm not the best singer, so I don't I don't really I can't
I'm
sing
not the best
harmony notes.
singer either, but I do it anyway.
Well, so I don't. What's cool about this to me is even though it's meant for singing, how
Yeah,
I am applying it to the mountain dulcimer,
yeah.
because of course all these songs are written in different keys, but we can just automatically play them in D on the dulcimer
Do,
by
re,
using
mi.
these shape notes.
Yeah,
So yeah, very, very neat. And they would do that a cappella, a lot of that. The
yeah.
shape note. Yeah, that's really,
Primarily a cappella.
yeah. So that's impressive that they can you know, learn their part so well within that and have the four parts going. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Margaret Wright in the dulcimer community, she doesn't do very much online. I think she's kind of in a similar, like, the internet wasn't very good where she was, position, but she teaches the four shape system. And so
So the
Mandy can help you with the seven shape system, and Margaret Wright can help you with the four shape system.
yeah,
But there are, yeah, that kind of crossover with the shape note and the dulcimer makes a lot of sense because they're both kind of diatonic systems.
yeah, absolutely. It just lines up perfectly, and I do it primarily on DAA since it's just
Uh-huh.
one line, and
Yeah.
I love the sound of that drone, so that's what I'll primarily do. Even though I'll tab it out in DAD also, but
Yeah.
yeah, the shape notes are really cool. But
I love this. Okay, did we miss any important steps in your journey that you want to make sure we talk about?
I'm trying to think. I think um, I didn't really. One thing I want to say is, um, with the mountain dulcimer, it was just exploration, really, for me. I didn't,
Hmm.
I didn't know about any festivals, anything. I didn't know about any dulcimer players near me, nothing like that. All I had was just what the notes that I could make and play with and what I could see on the internet, which was very limited. There
Yeah.
was something though, at least, which a lot of people didn't have that. But the internet really helped me because I could listen to someone playing something and go, okay, let me pick out these notes, and pick it out. And I got to where, I just really trained my ear and got to where I could pick out pretty much anything on the dulcimer or any of these other instruments just by ear. It
Hmm.
might not be in the same key that someone else was playing it in, but um, training your ear is the most important thing anyone can do. And I
Do you have
really
any
stress
do you have
that.
any tips for where to start in that process for people who are feeling intimidated by that?
Sure, sure. With training your ear, it takes work and you have to be dedicated to it. And I tell everyone the same thing, doesn't matter what instrument it is. The first thing you do is you pick out nursery rhymes. Things
Yeah.
that you know the melody, right? It's already in you. Mary Had a Little Lamb, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. All these songs, Skip to My Lou. That's what you need to start with because you know where those notes are going. You can hear it, right? So finding the first note is usually the hardest. And I tell
Hmm.
people, okay, to find the first note, you can go to YouTube, which has everything, and you can say, Mary had a little lamb on the piano, right? And it'll come up and you can hear that first note. And once you hear that first note, you can find it on your instrument. And you can even be even more specific on YouTube and say, Mary had a little lamb in D. And they'll give you what you need for the mountain dulcimer.
Yeah.
And you can do that in G or whatever you want, depending on what instrument you're playing. If you can't
Yeah.
find that first note, and then you take 5 to 10 minutes every practice session, and you work out that nursery rhyme. Then the next practice session, if you finish that one, play it to make sure you knew all the notes were right. Then go on to another one and another one and another one. And over time, you'll start doing them quicker and easier. You can write out the tab if you want to. And then
Hmm.
as you go along, then you can start into a little bit more difficult songs. And it's
Hmm.
just taking the time and having the patience to do it now with this world of internet, and you can get everything, and tab is just kind of easy. It's the easy route.
Hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with learning by tab, and I don't discourage it, but yeah, ear, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
So,
I find sometimes that I can find the chords first and the melodies
oh,
later
okay.
too. So in my experience with like doing ear training with people who feel intimidated by ear training,
Yeah.
people who sing or people who grew up with like choir or band instruments, a lot of times melodies are the first easy thing to find.
Yeah.
But for me, melodies were really hard because I had to find every single note. It was so many of them.
Yeah.
But my dad, when I was first learning to play, made me play the chords to the song before I played the melody to the song.
Okay.
And I grew up around a lot of bluegrass, which has a lot of time of playing chords and a little time of playing melody, and a
Yes.
lot of time of playing chords and a little time of playing melody. And
Yeah.
so, one of my favorite tools for training the chord side is to type in like style of music, backing track in D. And a lot of times on YouTube now, they'll actually tell you the chords that they're playing. So you start with your eyes closed and you try to follow along, and then you open your eyes and you can see the answer key. And so
Yeah.
that's a good for the chord side ear
Oh,
training.
that's
But
good. Yeah.
yeah, I'm with you on the ear training with nursery rhymes too for melodies.
And timing, that's why I promote Strum Machine
Yeah, rhythm is a thing, isn't it?
for sure. And Strum
That's
Machine is
great.
great. It's really good because it gives you're always in time, no matter what speed you select, it's always in the right time, and there's no noise degradation at any tempo. So this little
Um,
app is amazing, and it already has. I want to say they're up to 2,000 songs now that they have preloaded in there, and you can easily change the key you're in. You can add chords to any song, take away whatever you want to do, make new songs. Um, and I really, I don't have any connection to them or any affiliation with them other than using it. But oh, it is a game changer. I wish I had it many years ago to play along to, because you can sit there, you play the chords, it tells you the chords, goes through them, they highlight as they go, and then you can play the
nice.
melody to it, and then you can sing with it. It's super good.
That's awesome. Yay
Yeah.
for tools and resources that help us learn
Yes.
to play our music.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, so tell us all where we can find you online, and if you're going to any in-person events this summer, what do you have coming up?
Okay, so banjolemonade.com is my website, and it's got over 1,000 lessons on these different instruments. I've got courses, like super beginner courses, where it just takes you step by step through each one, and all sorts of stuff there for that. There's also a shop with tab. You can just buy the tab if you don't want the video lessons and things of that nature. But there's also the YouTube channel Banjo Lemonade, and then coming up next week, I have Quarantune, right? Quarantune Dulcimer Festival. The first time I'm ever going to be teaching at that. And I've got um,
Yay.
two banjo and two mountain dulcimer classes that I'll be teaching. One is claw hammer, one is two finger thumb lead banjo, which is another old time style.
Hmm.
And then two mountain dulcimer classes. And then the week after that, I'll be up at Folkcraft on June 8th doing a day long workshop there. And that'll be a blast. Yeah. So hope to see people out there for that.
Yeah, great. And we've roped you into being a teacher for the Dulcimoon 2025 festival, so we're really excited that you'll be.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, can't wait for that. That's coming up in January. So,
Yeah, it's a little ways from now, but we're planning
yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mandy. It's been really lovely to hear more of your story and your little teaching tips and tricks and techniques too. So thank you for sharing your time with
Well,
us.
I thank you very much for inviting me on here. It's amazing. Just technology and how far everything has come on the internet. It's crazy. I'm a
Yeah.
little older, so like I come up when there's no internet or anything like that. Uh, but yeah, it's awesome. I love it. Love every bit of it.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Thanks for watching.